Hello, you're watching A News. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are the headlines for the hour. Europe stresses the need to protect Ukrainian interests ahead of the Trump-Putin talks in Alaska. Tel Aviv demonstrators urge the hostage release and warn against Gaza escalation. World leaders and international organizations welcome the Azerbaijan-Armenia joint declaration. European leaders have welcomed US efforts to end the war in Ukraine, but insist that peace talks must protect Ukraine's sovereignty and involve Kyiv directly. The reaction comes ahead of a planned Trump-Putin meeting in Alaska.
European leaders have given a united response to US President Donald Trump's planned meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska on August 15th. They welcomed efforts to end the war, but said any peace deal must protect Ukraine's and Europe's security and include Kyiv. In a joint statement, leaders from Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Finland and the European Commission said talks should begin from the current front line, happen only under a ceasefire or reduced hostilities, and respect the principle that borders cannot be changed by force. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky backed the European position after a meeting of security advisers in Britain. His chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, reiterated that Ukraine rejects territorial concessions and that the front line is not a border. Earlier, Trump has suggested the talks could involve territorial swaps, an idea viewed with caution in both Kyiv and European capitals. The Alaska meeting is expected to be bilateral at Putin's request, though Trump says he is open to including Zelensky.
Kharkiv remains one of the fiercest battlegrounds in Ukraine, with overnight Russian drone strikes hitting civilian targets and frontline positions under constant pressure. The attacks came as Moscow floated a new peace proposal, one Kyiv says it will reject outright. Our Fikret Tolukhanov reports from Kharkiv, Ukraine.
We are in Kharkiv Oblast, one of the hottest areas of the country in this war. Overnight, Russian forces launched another wave of drone attacks here, sending 8 drones of various types into the region. One struck a kindergarten, another hit a warehouse, sparking fires. In the past 24 hours alone, 6 people have been injured in shelling and airstrikes. Civilian targets from a furniture shop to private homes have been damaged or destroyed. On the front lines, the Russians have been pressing hard. Ukrainian positions near Vovchansk came under assault 5 times in a single day, with a further 6 attacks near Kupiansk. It's not just Kharkiv that was under fire though. Early this morning, a drone slammed into the roof of the Sumy Regional Administration building. And according to the Ukrainian Air Force, Russia carried out a massive overnight barrage. 100 Shahed drones and other decoys launched across the country. Ukraine says it destroyed or disabled 70 of them, but 30 still hit targets in 12 settlements in Dnipro, Kharkiv, Sumy and Chernihiv regions. Beyond Ukraine's borders, the war is biting back. In Russia's Saratov region, some 600 kilometers from Ukrainian-controlled territory, drones struck in an oil refinery, igniting a large blaze. Explosions and air defense activity were also reported in other parts of Russia. Meanwhile, diplomatic maneuvers continue. Russia suggests that during a meeting in Moscow, Vladimir Putin passed a peace proposal to United States Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, a plan that would see Ukraine withdraw from Donetsk and Luhansk, while Russia pulls back from parts of Sumy and Kharkiv. A source in President Zelensky's office says Kyiv will reject it outright. In a statement this morning, President Zelensky insisted that any end to the war must be fair and protect the security of European nations. He voiced full support for a joint peace declaration from European leaders, issued just ahead of a planned meeting between Presidents Trump and Putin.
In March 2022, the Kyiv suburb of Bucha became a symbol of Russian occupation. Survivors share their powerful testimonies from mass killings and captivity to moments of courage, kindness and resilience. Through their own words, hear how residents risk their lives to protect neighbours, document atrocities and hold on to humanity in the face of brutality. Witness the reality behind the headlines, the stories the world must not forget.
Мой муж каждый день выходил в 8 утра и приходил в 4 дня.
My husband used to leave every day at 8 in the morning and return at 4 in the afternoon, like going to work. By 4 o'clock, I would already be looking out the window to see where he was. By 5, I knew he wasn't coming. I can't even speak about it properly.
Что-то я не могу нормально говорить.
In March 2022, the Kiev suburb of Bucha became a symbol of Russian occupation, a place where hundreds of civilians were killed and others endured weeks of terror. Survivors are still piecing together what happened and why.
We're
standing now in what's more of a small square or park with trees planted in rows. Each tree bears a tag with the name of someone killed in Bucha during the occupation. On Yablunska Street and the nearby area, around 120 people were killed, either from gunshot wounds or from being denied medical assistance.
The killings did not distinguish between soldiers and civilians. Witnesses say Russian troops opened fire on men, women, the elderly, and even those who supported Moscow.
Apart from killing civilians and patriots, they also killed people who supported the so-called Russian world. Among the dead are people who welcomed their arrival, and yet they killed them anyway.
Amid the danger, residents risked their lives to help others, teaching neighbors how to avoid soldiers, hide in basements, and survive.
Our role during the occupation was to study people's psychology and teach civilians how to behave to survive. We found certain keys, certain strategies during the occupation, and we believe those helped save lives.
Psychological effect of the occupation was so heavy, some people still carry the trauma of those days.
We, the residents, including myself, stayed in the basement. There were so many soldiers that life became unbearable. Over time, my health worsened. I developed a severe stammer. I'm getting treatment now, thanks to those who are helping me.
Some encounters with Russian forces were moments of life or death.
Those men from Bucha, under the barrels of assault rifles, turned around and said, "Don't touch the doctor, let him go." If they hadn't done that, I'd have been taken prisoner too. Only God knows if I'd have survived.
Others remember the surreal mix of war and fleeting humanity.
On 8th March, International Women's Day, even with the war and shelling, I took a crate of flowers to give to women. That's Ukraine for you. The enemy gave us mines. We gave our women flowers.
The physical and emotional scars run deep. Survivors say they cannot forget, but they carry their memories as proof of what happened in Bucha.
Forgetting? No, that's impossible. This story lives with us. The fact we are all standing here alive is nothing short of a miracle.
Ukrainian investigators have identified more than 580 victims so far, with dozens still buried as unknowns and many more missing. For Bucha's survivors, telling their story is part of seeking justice.
Thousands have taken to the streets in Tel Aviv, demanding the safe return of hostages from Gaza and voicing anger over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to seize full control of Gaza. The decision has triggered strong condemnation from across the Arab Islamic world and renewed warnings of an escalating humanitarian catastrophe.
Israeli protesters flooded the streets of Tel Aviv on Saturday night, marching from Hostages Square to the military headquarters. the demonstrators demanded the immediate return of the 50 hostages still held in Gaza, with Israeli officials believing only 20 remain alive. The protest came hours after hostage families warned Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu they would pursue him if harm comes to the captives, following the Security Cabinet's approval of expanded military operations in Gaza. That decision, including a plan to seize full control of Gaza City, has sparked sharp criticism both at home and abroad. In a joint statement, the Ministerial Committee, mandated by the Joint Arab-Islamic Extraordinary Summit on Gaza, along with 23 countries, the Arab League, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, condemned the plan as a dangerous and unacceptable escalation and a flagrant violation of international law. The group warned it would deepen the humanitarian crisis, derail peace efforts, and amount to crimes against humanity. Among the signatories were Egypt, Qatar, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, and Indonesia. They called for an immediate end to Israeli military actions in Gaza and demanded full, unconditional access for humanitarian aid. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called the planned takeover a new crime that must be stopped. Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan accused Israel of deliberately pushing Palestinians toward famine to force them from their land, while his Egyptian counterpart Badr Abdelati urged regional unity and increased pressure to halt the plan. Netanyahu's office insists the military will distribute humanitarian aid outside combat zones even as the takeover of Gaza City proceeds. But with tensions rising, both on the streets and in diplomatic halls, the conflict shows no signs of easing.
From Shanghai, a key hub of global trade and diplomacy, China is strengthening its role in the Middle Corridor and preparing to host the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. Anastasia Lavrina has more.
Hello from Shanghai, one of China's most strategic cities, a global economic hub and a crossroads of international diplomacy. Today, it's once again at the center of major geopolitical developments. China is moving to integrate more deeply into the Middle Corridor, the vital trade route connecting East Asia to Europe through Central Asia and the South Caucasus. In a significant step, China Railway Container Transport Corporation Ltd has joined Middle Corridor Multimodal Ltd, the joint railway venture of Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan and Georgia. This partnership strengthens both infrastructure and political will to make Eurasia's transport links faster, safer and more competitive. Shanghai's role in regional diplomacy has deep roots. In June 2001, leaders of China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan gathered here to transform the Shanghai Five into the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Since then, the SCO has become a powerful platform for political dialogue, economic cooperation and collective security. These August, leaders from across Asia, the Middle East and Eurasia will meet for the SCO summit to address pressing challenges from security and transport connectivity to digital governance and regional integration. One country that is gaining greater visibility in this process is Azerbaijan. In April 2025, President Ilham Aliyev paid a state visit to China at the invitation of President Xi Jinping. The two leaders signed a joint statement on the establishment of a comprehensive strategic partnership and landmark in bilateral relations. But the visit also highlighted Azerbaijan's rising role in multilateral formats, especially the SCO. Although not a full member, Azerbaijan holds dialogue partner status, and both Baku and Beijing have signaled support for deeper engagement, from counter-terrorism coordination to new transport corridors and cooperation on non-traditional security threats. The upcoming summit may well open the door to more active involvement for dialogue partners like Azerbaijan, paving the path for new projects, new partnerships and a stronger role in shaping the region's future. Anastasia Lavrina, especially for A News, here in Shanghai, China.
China is pushing the United States to relax export restrictions on key computer chips used in artificial intelligence, aiming to include this in a trade deal before a potential summit between President Donald Trump and President Xi Jinping. According to the Financial Times, China is urging the US to relax export controls on high-bandwidth memory chips, essential for AI systems like those made by NVIDIA. China is concerned that current US export rules limit its tech companies, such as Huawei, from developing advanced AI chips, potentially slowing innovation in this strategic field. The US has limited semiconductor sales to curb China's AI and defense progress. Though these rules impact US companies' access to China's huge market, China remains a key buyer of American chips. The 2025 World Robot Conference is underway in Beijing, where experts have unveiled a blueprint for the future of embodied intelligent robots, machines designed to better perceive, decide and act in complex environments. The opening ceremony revealed 10 major trends shaping the next generation of robotics.
200 leading robotics companies and over 1,500 exhibits from around the globe. The 5-day World Robot Conference, co-organized by the China Institute of Electronics and the World Robot Cooperation Organization in Beijing, brings together these industry leaders to showcase the latest advances in robotics technology. At the opening ceremony, the conference released its report, 10 Trends of Embodied Intelligent Robots 2025, highlighting the growing role of embodied cognition, powered by physical practice, simulators and world models.
We hope to expand embodied intelligence towards broader and more advanced applications across society. In the past, robots were largely designed for specialized tasks. In the future, the robots can both generalize and excel in performance.
Experts say the technology has potential in challenging settings, from industrial production to emergency response, and could be transformed by integrating insights from mathematics and neuroscience.
Azerbaijan, Armenia and the United States have signed a historic joint declaration in Washington, marking major progress toward peace in the South Caucasus and opening a new stage in US-Azerbaijan relations. Here are the main points of the talks.
US President Donald Trump has hosted high-level peace talks with the leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia at the White House in what is being hailed as a breakthrough for the South Caucasus.
35 years of death and hatred, and now it's going to be love and respect and success together.
The discussions included both separate and trilateral meetings, culminating in the signing of a joint declaration under the framework of the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity Summit. As part of the agreements, the United States and Azerbaijan signed a memorandum of understanding to establish a strategic working group tasked with preparing a strategic partnership charter. In a major step for bilateral ties, President Trump signed an order suspending Section 907 of the Freedom Support Act, lifting long-standing US restrictions on aid to Azerbaijan imposed in 1992 during Armenia's occupation of Azerbaijani territories. On the Armenia-Azerbaijan peace agenda, the parties submitted a joint appeal to the OSCE to dissolve the Minsk group and agreed on constitutional changes in Armenia to remove territorial claims against Azerbaijan. Another key element of the deal is the creation of a special transit corridor, which will allow Azerbaijan full unhindered access to its Nakhchivan region. The US and Armenia agreed to launch the Zangezur corridor with President Trump as its guarantor, a goal Azerbaijan successfully secured. In his remarks, President Trump praised both leaders for their commitment to stop all fighting forever, open trade and travel, normalize diplomatic relations, and respect each other's territorial integrity.
Today, historic day, also because we bring peace. President Trump brings peace to Caucasus, and we're grateful for that. And I'm sure that Armenia and Azerbaijan will find courage and responsibility to reconcile, and also the people will reconcile. We will turn the page of standoff, confrontation, and bloodshed, and provide bright and safe future for our children. So I'm very happy because today we're writing the great new history. And once again, Mr. President, thank you for all what you are doing for us, for our region, and for the whole world.
President Aliyev's message was echoed by Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, who emphasized the broader global significance of the agreement.
This is a great deal we've achieved today. This is a success for our countries and for our region, and a success for the world, because a more peaceful region means a safer world. This is peace through strength in a neutral. Mr. President, today's great achievement is yet another testimony to your global leadership and your legacy as a statesman and a peacemaker on the world stage. Bringing peace required vision, political courage, and determination.
The agreement signed at the White House marks a significant shift in regional relations, with leaders expressing hope that this new chapter will replace decades of conflict with lasting cooperation, stability, and prosperity for the South Caucasus.
As part of the US-hosted talks between Azerbaijan and Armenia in Washington, Azerbaijan's Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov and Armenia's Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan initialed the draft agreement on the establishment of peace and interstate relations between the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Republic of Armenia. The two foreign ministers also signed a joint appeal to the OSCE chairperson in office regarding the termination of the OSCE Minsk process. The personal representative of the OSCE chairperson in office on the conflict dealt with by the OSCE Minsk conference and the high-level planning group. The joint declaration between Azerbaijan and Armenia, signed in Washington, has drawn praise from world leaders and international organizations.
The joint peace declaration signed in Washington between Azerbaijan and Armenia has been met with broad international approval. NATO called the accord a significant step for regional security, while the United Nations described it as a milestone in normalizing relations. The European Union called the deal a major breakthrough, with High Representative Kaja Kallas praising both sides and the US for progress. PACE. President Theodoros Rousopoulos voiced firm backing, stressing the Assembly's readiness to assist in consolidating the deal and building mutual trust. Across Europe, leaders congratulated Baku and Yerevan on the breakthrough. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy hailed the progress achieved in the talks, calling it an important move toward lasting peace. During Sunday address, Pope Leo expressed hope that the US brokered agreement would bring lasting stability to the South Caucasus. Messages of support also came from Spain, Italy and the Czech Republic. In the region, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan praised President Ilham Aliyev's leadership in advancing a peace agenda for the South Caucasus. Georgian Parliament Speaker Shalva Papuashvili called the agreement a historic step toward reconciliation and regional prosperity. Leaders from Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan also welcomed the deal.
Dozens of Afghan refugees, including women and children and the elderly, have gathered at Pakistan's Chaman border, preparing to cross into Afghanistan on Sunday. The movement comes amid a government crackdown on documented Afghan refugees, with a September deadline looming for their departure.
Families carrying their belongings waited outside a registration office at the Chaman border in Pakistan's Balochistan province. Some said they were returning home willingly, even describing themselves as happy to go back.
We have been here for 15 to 20 years, running a small shop. But now that the situation here has worsened, and there it has improved, we should return to our country.
Pakistan has ordered all documented Afghan refugees to leave by September 1st, though deportations have already begun, according to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. More than 2.1 million Afghans have left this year alone, straining Afghanistan's fragile economy. Rights groups have criticised the policy, warning it leaves many refugees in legal limbo. Authorities in Islamabad say only Afghans with valid visas will be allowed to remain. The repatriation drive, part of Pakistan's illegal foreigners repatriation plan launched in late 2023, comes as Afghanistan faces a new wave of mass deportations from Iran, prompting aid agencies to warn of further instability.
Kazakhstan and China have agreed to build a logistics hub in Kyrgyz and an industrial park for deep agricultural processing in the border area, following talks between Kazakh Foreign Minister Murat Nurtleo and Chinese corporations China Minmetals and CITC Construction Co. Limited. The talks focused on advancing joint investment projects in priority sectors, including logistics, industry and agricultural processing. The projects aim to strengthen trade, boost investment in the Shetsyu region and create new jobs, enhancing the region's role on the Asia-Europe trade route. Turkey's Capedokia Balloon Festival has wrapped up with a spectacular finale. Visitors from around the world gathered to watch dozens of colourful, figure-shaped hot air balloons take to the skies over the region's iconic fairy chimneys.
The skies over Cappadocia were filled with colour and creativity as the Capedokia Balloon Festival came to a close. Part of the Turkey Kültür Yolu Festival, the event featured 40 figure-shaped balloons from 27 countries, from turtles and penguins to rockets and hearts, all drifting gracefully above the fairy chimneys of Nevşehir. Crowds of both local and international tourists packed the launch areas and valley viewpoints, with festival roads jammed by heavy traffic.
Pazar günü son gün çok güzel bir kalabalık vardı bugün.
On the final day, we had a wonderful crowd, about 15,000 visitors from across Turkey and abroad. They came to see our festival balloons, take photos and enjoy the atmosphere. It was a beautiful event, and we hope to hold an even bigger one next year.
Misafirlerimizi de ülkelerine yollayacağız. Seneye daha büyük, daha
The four-day festival was not without challenges. Strong winds grounded flights on Friday and Saturday, but Sunday's clear skies allowed the balloons to fly, landing at various points around Göreme. For many, it was an unforgettable experience.
It's truly something everyone should experience at least once in their life. The atmosphere is incredible, and it's a huge boost for tourism.
We came from Adana to be part of this excitement. Seeing this atmosphere makes us both happy and proud.
Organisers say they are already planning for next year's edition, aiming for more balloons, more visitors and even more colour in Cappadocia's skies.
And that's your evening news update for now from Baku. Stay tuned to A News for more updates. Good night.